Hi, I'm Kai, and this is my friend Chris. And this is Meet the Cast.
Meet the Cast is our new school podcast where we will be interviewing faculty and staff about what's going on behind the scenes here at CAST.
We're kicking off this series with an episode I know all of you viewers are going to want to see. Because today, we've got the CAST principal herself, Miss Whitaker, joining us on the show. There have been a lot of changes going on with CAST over the few years. We've been here. Every year it changes and it grows sometimes for students and parents, and even staff members. It's hard to keep up with everything. So where better to get the answers than from our principal?
To start things off, we're going to take a moment to thank Miss Whitaker and give her the opportunity to introduce herself to our viewers.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Mrs. Whitaker, the proud principal of CAST, and looking forward to a few minutes with our interviewers here with Kai and Chris.
Yes, ma'am.
We're hoping to get to know you a bit before jumping into any questions, so we wanted to ask, what made you decide to be our principal?
Wow, that's a great question. I actually was part of a grant that was written for CAST itself about 5 years ago. And I was part of the team that helped write that grant, and all the things that you have seen, like all of the wonderful things that are in the studio, were part of that grant. And so I got to be part of working with CAST, Westwood, and Sam Gaines in creating, the new programs at their school. And I had an opportunity to be a principal starting in the third year of the grant at Mariposa, and then was invited to become the CAST principal. And of course, already being a music teacher, and music and the arts are part of what I do. When I had the chance to become the principal, I was absolutely yes. This is where I want to be.
So did that have any relationship with Mr. Whitaker?
I do have a relationship with Mr. Whitaker, and that's actually my son.
Well, I was kind of leading towards, did you being part of that grant help him become a teacher here, or did him being a teacher help you be part of the grant?
Oh, that's a great question. They're actually very, very separate, actually, because when you become a principal of a school, you're not permitted to have family members be under your supervision. So unfortunately, he had to move schools because of that. You can't have a parent be a supervisor of somebody in your immediate family. So if you come to teach here, your mom couldn't be your supervisor. In fact, both of you would have that same experience because both of your parents are here. So, but he did have a chance to interview for a position with Dr. Reed for the civics position, and he had just finished his degree and was given the opportunity to teach civics here, which he loved his 3 years here. Yeah.
So you had 5 years ago, you helped make the grant. Mm-hmm. And that was involved with Westwood?
It was. There were actually 3 schools that were part of that grant. So Westwood was renamed, and as part of the grant, the federal government requires us to change the name. So Westwood High School became Fort Pierce Westwood Academy, and then Sam Gaines became Samuel Gaines Academy for Emerging Technologies, and then Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts became Creative Arts Academy of St. Lucie. So so it was pretty cool to be part of all three programs.
Pretty neat.
Yep.
Now, expectations can be a powerful thing. We all understand this. And I think many things have changed over the years. Yeah. And a lot of students have had to adjust their expectations. So I guess my question is, what did you expect from CAST, and is it everything you expected?
That's a great question, too. So having some experience with Fort Pierce Magnet School of the Arts, and then it transitioning into Creative Arts Academy, I knew what to expect because I knew a lot of the staff and administration that was already here. And so really being familiar with the programs that were here and what was being implemented, working alongside the various teams at the district to implement. So I knew what I was, coming into. I didn't realize how amazing because I didn't have a chance to really work directly with the students, but how amazing these kids are here and how talented they are, and just how proud of the work that everybody does every day. And what you guys have accomplished in a very unusual couple of years. We've had COVID, which has, made our school years a little unique over the past couple of years, and just seeing the students hit the ground running and do their very best has been exciting. So it was very much what I expected, and look forward to building the school even further into the School of the Arts that we want it to be and that we envision it to be, and become, very well known in the community. We're still kind of that best kept secret in Fort Pierce sometimes. Oh, I didn't know CAST was here. I didn't know about that. Well, it's not going to be like that much longer. People are going to be, very aware that Creative Arts Academy is here, and, what we have to offer the students, and to make it better, learning from you guys. You guys give a lot of great input to us. So, yep.
So do you plan on focusing more on arts in the future, or educational, like academic classes?
So those go hand in hand, because when you really think about it, arts are academics, because when you're in an arts-based class, you're still learning about history, you're still learning about science. When you're you're learning about composers, or you're learning about famous artists, or you're learning about various components of different programs. Even here where you guys are, working on putting the script together, you're writing. So that's language arts. So all of those components of your core academic classes really come in hand with your programs. It's just a little bit more non-traditional way of learning. And sometimes when a student maybe can't learn a concept in the core classroom, it clicks when you come to a classroom like the electives, and then you go, oh my gosh, now I made the connection. So really those two go very hand in hand. So hopefully that answered your question.
It did.
Okay.
Well, getting into our main topic, I have to say we got a lot of questions thrown at us from our fellow students, things they all wanted to ask or know about. So we had to narrow it down to just a few. Here's the questions we've come up with.
First off, I've always been in favor of the school-wide events. They bring the 8th grade class together, so we can see our friends from the other team. They also help the whole student body share experiences. This is a great way to make the school more of a community. So, can you tell us, are we going to have any more school-wide events this year?
So when you talk about school-wide events, there's a couple different ways that you really kind of try to bring the community together. So when we do in-school performances, that gives the chance for you guys to watch your peers perform, and it gives everybody a chance to be in the auditorium together. So those are some of our school-wide events that we have. We're looking later on in the year to do PTO. Our parent-teacher group is wanting to put together like a field day, carnival day. So, didn't know that was coming, did you?
No.
So they're going to be planning some events that we're going to do some grade level type things. It makes it really difficult to have all 500 students out at the field at the same time. So when you talk about school-wide events, we on our end have to think about the safety piece of it. So, and the supervision and making sure, if we have an event, we might be able to do 6th, 7th, and 8th grade together, but that's still over 200 kids. So to do a full event outside we have to be very limited on how we do that, just because of the number of staff that we need for supervision. So a lot of times you'll notice that we'll do things kindergarten through 5th grade, and then 6th, 7th, and 8th sometimes. But we also do, the full school events that we do, like we're going to have a spring fest, similar to what we did in the fall, like the fall festival that we had. So PTO is planning a spring fest with the same type things, some games, bringing the community in, bringing vendors in. So there's a few more things that we have to look forward to at the end of the year. So just hang tight, and things are coming, I promise. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That sounds very interesting. So there's a spring festival?
Uh-huh. Yep, it's coming up soon. So be watching, because, how Miss Whitaker, I say Miss Whitaker, how I always send out those messenger calls, just to inform people of different events that are coming. And PTO always sends out a flyer. So just whoever's watching this, just be on the lookout, because there'll be flyers and information, Facebook, all that good stuff coming out.
So are we going to have like PBIS events, like let's say, last year we had something where we all got to hang out outside, and there were lots of different like shops that you could buy with CAST cash, and there was like food and stuff. Are we going to have more PBIS events such as that?
So something similar to that. So I
Yes.
know middle school right now, you guys are earning with those little cards, the good things that you're doing. And, on Fridays, like last Friday, you got to be outside.
Sadly, I'm not here this Friday.
Okay. I'm sorry that you're not here this Friday. But there's different events, that we have that are grade level based. And then we're going to do, like I said, with the carnival and the field day plans that we have for later, after testing. Obviously, that's the only bad thing is most of this stuff has to happen after testing is done. So, but there are some there's a PBIS dance that Miss Bernard has been working on. There's a PBIS cart, to spend your money. And then we'll be working on some additional events after we get back from spring break. And the student ambassadors are actually going to have some input on that. And there's been some of the middle school kids have been asking about a kickball competition between our either 8th grade against staff or 7th grade against 8th grade. That was one. And then we had some 5th graders come and provide a proposal to me. And what they would like to do is start a tradition of a flag football game against 5th graders and 8th graders. And so they shared their whole proposal with me, had great ideas. So we're going to bring that to some of the middle school students and see what they think about that and kind of go from there. But one of the things that I really want to build upon is having more student voice as far as some of the things that we do. And we'll be doing more of that throughout the year. Okay. Yeah.
For our next question, it is no secret that it is tough to discipline students. As a magnet school, students here at CAST come from all walks of life and all have different needs. The fine arts have talented individuals, but also have students who tend to hog the spotlight. This does occasionally create issues. What is your plan for maintaining discipline as the school grows?
Well, when you talk about discipline, and you said something perfect in there, because you said there are so many kids from different walks of life, and you have to know your students and you have to communicate well with your parents, when you're talking about setting expectations. But discipline, when you look at it from an administrator and a teacher point of view, that piece of it that is so important about the discipline is the relationships that you have. And when you have relationships built with people, they tend to work more toward your expectations. And when you set your expectations, like what we do when we had remember when we had our assemblies at the beginning of the year and then at the beginning of the semester, setting those boundaries and ensuring that students understand what those boundaries are and what the expectations are, ensuring that we communicate clear expectations of what a CAST student should handle themselves each day and how we act and how we do our very best. And, every situation is different. It depends on the infraction. Hopefully, you wish you were in a perfect world where we never had to provide discipline to students. But unfortunately, reality is that, sometimes we have to be redirected to make better choices, and you kind of go from there. So, just know that, we work diligently every day to ensure that, you guys are safe and, in a great positive environment. And hopefully, when we're working on the discipline things that we're teaching you to make better choices. So there's less of that need for discipline. So hopefully that answered your question.
So when you say that we hope that there's no need for discipline, would you say that making everybody walk in lines would be more fair than giving, ISS for people who are skipping classes?
So every infraction is different. So when you're talking about students walking in line again, a lot of that, is that what you're asking as far as going back to walking in lines, or are you just asking about the discipline of just having students walk in line?
Just
meeting
the
the expectation. Okay. All right. So just making sure I'm clear in your question. So part of that walking in lines is also about safety, because you've also got to make sure that, you and I both know, or we all know, that not every student handles themselves the way they should handle themselves when we're walking from class to class, correct?
Yeah.
So, part of that safety piece is ensuring that no one is getting hurt, because we've had some issues where, we've had to provide discipline and had to make some recorrections because people weren't handling themselves the way they should have been going down the stairs or walking outside. So that discipline piece of it didn't necessarily deem an ISS or suspension, but it just meant that we needed to readdress how we went from class to class because some friends didn't handle themselves the way they should have. Versus, what was the other one that you asked me? ISS or OSS?
Yeah. ISS.
So ISS, and for those people watching that may not know what it is in-school suspension, and then OSS is out-of-school suspension. That all is determined by the school code of conduct. So anytime that we have an issue with a conduct issue, we go to that book, and that book tells us, okay, if this happens, this is what the infraction is. If this happens, this is what the infraction is. So it's not just because one student did this, it's meant to keep it fair and consistent. So if one person made the same mistakes the other person did, they both have the same consequences. Does that make sense?
So you're saying that the code of conduct says that what happened within transition means that the consequences that we all walk in line.
So for that one in particular, that's more of that's an administration decision. So some of those things we have to make decisions based on that, but the more severe consequences, those are the ones that we go to the code of conduct. But when we have issues like let's say going back to walking in line, that was an administrative decision because we were seeing things on the videos that we knew weren't safe and people weren't making good choices. So we had to go back to ensure that all of our students were in a good place and needing that more controlled supervision, I guess is that. So that decision was made by me. And then the other ones, anything that's more serious, that would be where we would go to the code of conduct. So
It's basically like a rule book, basically.
Pretty much. Yep. And you can actually go online. You can actually go and see it. And you know, if students ever had a question or wanted to see how we make our decisions, parents and students both can actually go online and see the code of conduct. You know, it's on our website, it's on the district website, and you can actually see when, you know, how we make the decisions that we do. But sometimes they're more of an administrative decision, but the more serious ones, we have to go to that book as far as getting guidance.
Yeah, Mr. Barnes has showed class 7A the code of conduct, and I saw some of it, and
it's very long.
It is very long. He didn't show us all of it, but he showed us, like, because they were wondering about the levels, the 4 levels of punishment.
Yep. Yeah. And, you know, what's the difference between getting a burr versus a referral? It's just the level of seriousness. So
a referral is permanent.
Right. And a referral will follow you all the way through high school. A burr is only, you know, school-based. So, but, you know, the better we do as far as in communicating the expectations, you know, in our school, the less that we would have to refer to that code of conduct. So that's our goal, is to get it to where all of our students understand what the expectation is and choose to follow and make good decisions. And when I say, you know, we want to use that book less and less, and that's when students are making the right choices. Yeah.
All right. So looking forward, we all hope to see CAST grow. A lot of the fine arts programs we currently have are underfilled, though. We need more musicians in band and chorus, for example. But on the other hand, many of our fine arts programs have limited space or equipment. So what are your plans for the future student enrollment, and how do you plan on facilitating that growth?
So part of what a lot of people don't understand is that student enrollment is actually controlled by a lottery. So any student that comes here is selected, with the exception of staff students, because staff students are grandfathered in and you're able to, which you guys are very fortunate because both of your moms are teachers, so are able to come because their parents are employees. But all other students that are selected to be here are selected through a lottery process. And that's governed by the district. The school I don't have any control over that. Once that lottery is given, people apply to come. That's how our enrollment is determined. And then the next piece that you asked, I'm going to try to hit all the pieces of the question. The next piece you asked as far as the number of students in some of our fine arts classes. So based on the number of fine arts classes that we have and the area of interest, one of the things that we are going to try to improve is our recruitment efforts. Because one of the things that we want to make sure that students in other schools throughout the district, because anybody from any school in the district can come here, K through 8. So we want to advertise to students what our programs are to be able to recruit students. So, we've had like Mr. Ryer did an awesome job. He's part of the reason why a lot of the students from Mariposa came here, went and did a recruitment program. And when everyone saw, what he was working on, it was like, I want to be a part of that. So we're going to do more and more of that to let people know the kind of programs that we have here and try to elevate the number of students interested in various programs, and communicate those interests too. Like we're getting ready to do course selection for next year. So we've already got a pamphlet put together that has all of our different options and programs, and all of our current students and new students will both have that pamphlet to choose the programs that they want to go to. So a lot of it is just getting the information out there as far as what we have available and what you can be a part of, and encouraging students to be, to select some of those, programs that may have a few less. And then as far as your question with, maybe not as much equipment for some, it takes funds, it takes money to be able to grow a program. So, that's what we write grants for. That's what we have our money that's given through the referendum dollars that the St. Lucie County public actually votes on. And that allows us to build the equipment and build the program. So that's something that is always a work in progress and something that we work on every year. Long answer to that question.
So I guess another question is, I'm a musician, so I want to know what bands we're having next year. So are we having rock band, classic band, jazz band, all that stuff next year?
That's the goal. So we're working on that right now. And Mr. Hayes and Mr. Ranellis are, working on the course selection for next year. But our goal is to have cast rock, a jazz band, and then a traditional band. And then we're going to be holding auditions. So for current students and new students. So you start to see that the school, there is something different about CAST. CAST isn't like any of the other 42 schools in the district. So when we work on that actually allows us to look to see who's that beginning student, who's that student that's got a little bit of experience, and then who's that more advanced kid like you and as your performers and your musicians, who are more on that advanced level. And then that kind of leads us as far as when we create our master schedule, what we're going to offer. So we're working on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately, our time is coming to an end. I think we've both learned a lot today, and I hope you viewers did too.
We'd like to thank Ms. Whitaker for joining us today, for sharing her thoughts with us.
I'm glad to be here, and thanks for being great hosts.
Well, thank you for accepting to be here.
Ms. Whitaker, did you want to leave the viewers out there with any final words?
Sure. I'm so pleased to be a part of this, and you guys have done an outstanding job. And one thing that everybody doesn't see are all the people behind the scenes that help make this happen. And just seeing this program grow and what has been occurring, since the start in the last 3 years. And just congratulations to Mr. Ryer on all of his work. But just, as you think about closing, we're almost done with the first year of school as a principal, and just proud of the students here, proud of our staff, proud of what we're accomplishing, and great things are ahead. So just know that CAST will be on the radar in our community moving forward, and looking forward to another year. So congrats to all of our students. Keep up the good work.
If you enjoyed our podcast today, please drop a like on this video and hit that subscribe button to catch the next episode on Meet the Cast. Once again, I'm Kai.
And I'm Chris. And this has been Meet the Cast.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.